again YouTube, Mad Dog here. This video is a quick little help video hopefully for one of my YouTube friends who's just recently started finding his way at making simple traps, and he's struggling a little bit with making the figure 4 trap. Now just quickly, there's nothing wrong with his carving skills. If you're watching mate, nothing wrong with what you're doing carving wise. In fact, you're overdoing it. You're making too much of a pretty job of it. Now I'm just going to run through the figure 4 trap dead quickly. Hopefully it'll make a little bit of sense and help you out somewhat. So what I choose to do, I've just used an old broom cane for this. You can use obviously any wood, big or small, depending on the size of the quarry you intend to catch, depending on the weight of the load you're supporting with that setup. But I'm just using this so that hopefully you can see quite clearly what I'm doing. Now generally I start off with my pieces of wood, 3 pieces of wood, roughly the same length. And then normally, again, what I start with is the load bearing stick, because that determines the shape and form of the other two. So let's assume this is going to be our load bearing stick, the one that's actually going to carry the deadfall weight. So at one end there's a chamfer, and at the other end there's a simple notch, simple taper. So let's just leave it at that for now. So obviously I'll lay it on the bench. Hopefully you can see the deadfall weight will be at this end, like so when we're finished. Then we'll come to the ground stick, which I've just done a simple chisel end just for a demonstration. You can round this off, smooth it off, make it nice and slippy, you know, with your knife, and obviously that goes into the ground. Now that simple chisel notch will then go into an opposite notch, which I've carved approximately halfway, just slightly less than halfway down the load bearing stick. So they come together, get this in camera shot, like so. So it pivots on the top basically. If this will pick up here, I'm probably just out of frame, bear with me a second, like so. Okay, so that's the ground stick. Okay, load on there, etc. Sorry, I'm sweating in the shed, it's bloody hot in here, so excuse me. Then we'll come to the trigger stick, or the bait stick, and for that, again, similar length to the load bearing stick, pointy one end to attach your bait. I've only rough assed it just so that you can see the method basically. And what I've then got is, let me turn this around, onto the ground stick I've cut a half notch just about here, and the reason it's at that height is because obviously the ground stick is going to be driven into the ground by, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches, depending again on the height of your bait stick that's required. And the opposite half notch on the bait stick, so they slot together. So just let me give you a quick close-up of that. 2 half notches, one on the bait stick, one on the ground stick, and they come together loosely. You don't want anything on a trap tight, because you want it slippy and unstable to make it efficient. But as you can see, they fit together, you know, quite nicely. So ground stick and bait stick. So we'll put it all together now. So the top load bearing stick with the wedge on the end. Now we can adjust the angle, we can see where the 2 pieces, hopefully on my right, come together. And if we mark at that point with the back of the knife, and then make another reverse notch, which is, excuse me, just got this, turn it round, I'm just doing this so I can demonstrate, like so. Okay, so the load stick goes on the top, and the reverse notch that we did earlier connects into the back of that. So now hopefully, if I can just line all this up just to roughly demonstrate this setup without it falling to bits all over the place, that's roughly what we're left with. That's your figure 4. So your bait goes on there, the load across the top, the ground stick, everything, if I apply pressure on that, should hold itself into place like so. Another important thing when you do this, and a lot of people make this common mistake, is once you've got your trap set, you'll see images and photographs of people demonstrating this, but the ground stick is actually under the load. So yes, once the bait has been taken and the trigger is activated, everything comes flying off, the load comes crashing down, but it'll hit the ground stick, allowing the creature to escape. We don't want that, obviously. So what I always make sure, if I'm using this method, and it is very effective, it does work. If I can just reset this roughly, just bear with me a second. Bit of a balancing act. What I choose to do is make the load stick just long enough so that when this is in the ground at the height that you require, the load, when it does get activated, the bait stick's got to be long enough so that when the load comes crashing down, misses the ground stick, if that makes sense. So the load will come in front of the ground stick, so it's going to be perfectly flat. So I'm hoping this is going to help you out a little bit, mate. That's a basic figure 4, very roughly demonstrated. I know you can pretty all this up. More care and should be taken in carving these notches, make them slippy so that they just hold on, because the idea of this is obviously the slightest bit of movement on the end of the bait stick needs to knock that away, causing the whole structure to collapse. Don't make nice like furniture dovetail joints, make it slippy and unstable. More awkward to set up initially, admittedly, but will be more effective for actually doing the job. Another little tip is, I've been watching what you're doing, mate, and you spend a lot of time carving your wood, you know, to make it look nice and bark free. Well, in my opinion, that's against what we're trying to do. If you're doing this for real, not using broomsticks, real wood, leave the bark on, leave the green on, just do the basic notches, because by leaving the bark on, leaving it looking natural, it will appear natural to the creature and it will smell natural to the creature. The more work you put into this, the more of your bodily smell you're going to leave on that trap, and the more off-putting it will be to the creature. So don't go too elaborate with the carving, just do the basic notches that's needed for the mechanics. Leave it at that, otherwise you'll scare the critters off before they even get there. So again, I'll just quickly set it up once more just so that I can show my, this is basically, this video is basically for a mate out there that's struggling, so please be patient with me. I know a lot of you have seen all this many times before, so I apologise for the redundancy, but I'll just give you a quick, if I can, without it falling to bits. Whoa. So we have a notch at the top, although that needs rounding off so it pivots nicely and smoothly. Down to the wedge and an opposite notch on the end of the bait stick there. 2 half notches in the centre, your bait stick and the ground stick driven into the ground at the height that you require. So I hope you find some of this useful, mate. Don't give up with it. You know, nothing's easy if you don't know, and you only know by practicing and experimentation. See what works for you. It doesn't have to be pretty as long as it works. We're talking survival. Hope you find some of this useful, mate. You know who you are. Keep going with it. I'm looking forward to your video where you get the success that you deserve. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care out there. Mad Dog signing off. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, again. Oh. Yeah.